Hey guys, welcome back to the Matt Brown Show. Today we have none other than Brian, the founder of the infamous Rocomamas. Please give him a round of applause.
Hi there.
Brian, welcome to the show, dude.
Thanks, man.
I know it's been pretty cool. Been smashing your burgers in my face for a long time, and as have many of us here. And as it turns out, more and more consumers in more and more countries. But who are you, dude? Like, you know, obviously we know you're the founder of Rocomamas, but who are you and what's the headline story for you as an entrepreneur?
You know, I ask myself the same question, and it's a daily event. I think as I get older, I try understand who I actually am, and you know, we're all unique as human beings, and sometimes I actually feel that I need to write it down because I don't think I actually know who I am. But yet I think that my total honest way to life just makes it happen that I don't need to play a fake role, or so I can't really answer that. I've got a lot of values that I really hold dear, which I suppose from growing up and being betrayed and through business predominantly, you know, we all learn from that. It does kind of mold our thinking, and but that's who I am. It's just me.
You mentioned betrayal. Like, was this purely in business, or was this in a different context? Like, what actually transpired there?
I think betrayal is something that I look at trust as a value. It's so delicate, and one human being passing trust onto another human being, and it gets betrayed. I mean, I just think that betrayal is like the sin of sins. It's what creates animosity. But I also think that what happens is, and it's predominantly in business that I've seen, but I've been thinking about it quite a bit lately. So I want to think back about my youth in school, for instance, and having a teacher who would mete out corporal punishment on me with a tyrannical fashion, and then also explain to my parents that I'm lazy and I'm incompetent, and that in itself is betrayal. So that it starts from a very young age, and it also makes you think that when somebody has a vocation such as teaching, and yet they can create division within your own family home, there's something wrong. So I had to learn through business betrayals, partnerships where people steal from you, where people defraud you, and I try to find what the root of betrayal is. Betrayal, I think a lot of it comes from entitlement, and so for me, mainly the betrayal is business related, and I think that it's a big problem for human beings in general, because if you had to simplify it within betrayal within a romantic relationship, you've often heard the term where people say, "No, I've been hurt, I can't trust again." Now imagine that in business, because business is about trust. You got to keep at it. You can't let betrayal rule you. But that's why I actually do bring up the point of betrayal being such a hectic part of life.
What has betrayal taught you? So I'd like, you know, you get these things that you're trying to, like, philosophically trying to work out for yourself. So like you mentioned, betrayal, like for me is actually, I've got a big problem with reality. I think reality sucks, and just for me personally, and I kind of like oscillate between, you know, being really fucking happy and then really just pissed off with the world and the way things are. Do you know what I mean? And so like acceptance, like betrayal, are qualities that we all possess to different degrees. And along with those qualities come lessons and insights and meaning that you give these things. You know what I mean? So like in your case with betrayal, like those experiences lead you to a place where you get to reflect on them, and then as a result of reflection, learn from them and empower yourself to move forward, or whatever the case is. But it's something you have to continually do, like in the same way for me, like trying to re-accept reality, like because we were talking about this before we started going on air, which was about like control. Like some things happen in your control and some things don't. But the things that are like not in your control, what the fuck can you do? You just got to accept that shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you lose clients, you lose staff, you lose, you know what I mean? Like betrayal, you get fucked over sometimes. This is part of the game. So you just have to accept that, as hard as that might be. And likewise, betrayal is another thing. So what have you learnt about yourself? When you cast your mind back to, you can feel free to share what you want to share. But when you cast your mind back to those times of betrayal, like what did you, learn about yourself?
It's not those times. Betrayal is ongoing.
Like all the time.
Yeah, because you meet human beings continuously and you interact with them and they work with you and so it is, I think that you have to, and you can only look at it in hindsight where you can say, I shouldn't have trusted somebody, or I shouldn't, but the reality is you're going to meet somebody else and that happens. So when I was younger, it used to affect me quite badly, because I used to take it personally, because you get hurt, because trust is a very personal thing to, value. It's to put your trust or give your trust to somebody and they betray it. It is an emotional letdown for you, and I think that you need to rationalize it for business, especially I'm talking about business. And I think over the years I learned that, I think that we as human beings cannot be judge and jury of it. I think the universe deals with it. And you're right, it's not a fucking rosy cozy world out there, and it's but I think it's an awesome world. You see, I see opportunity in it, and I love being optimistic about it, but I'm also not like when I was younger, I was very idealistic in the way I used to see things, and I think that you can get hurt in those environments. And when betrayal visits you and you're idealistic about the world, your goals are too high, and what happens is with idealism, what happens is the real world happens, and then you got to bring rationality and be realistic about the outcome of what you want to achieve in something. So with betrayal, as you grow, you can't stop trusting, because trust is what allows you to forge a relationship to be able to do the business. So whether that is a relationship between employee, business partner, and business partner. And I think that a lot of these values, also for me, as my kids have grown older, you learn that it's also in your own relationships at home. It's very similar. So with still allowing the delicate value of trust in people's hands, and knowing that there is a potential betrayal, you're just going to say, well, there's more good than evil, and you've learned to overcome the evil with the good, but there'll always be the evil, and that's how I deal with it. I don't take it emotionally. You grow stronger with it, but it is very, very, very important that trust has to be given unconditionally.
It does. Well, then that's interesting, because when, I don't know like how this team feels here, but like when you're growing up, you are told, well, no, trust is earned. Do you know what I mean? And I actually and as I've grown older, like I originally believed that shit, but now as I've gotten older and you build businesses and you start to grow people and so forth, you actually start to learn that trust, yes, it's not untrue, but actually there's greater truth to be found in giving trust anyway, straight off the bat. Because if you don't give it, then how can you expect to receive it back?
Yeah. Kind of like respect.
Exactly.
So it is earned, but you also have to, I think from the outset, give it, and then it grows. So trust is earned because of the length of time of the relationship. So let's take a relationship. I like analyzing the relationship between customer and brand, and I bring it into a personal relationship. So what happens is you've got the beginning, you've got infatuation. And infatuation is the perfect point in time to ask for the other individual's rules and give them your rules, which is trust-based. So you explain it. Because human beings, because I think it's the serotonin in our brains or whatnot, it allows you to adapt to the other person's rules and values, and vice versa. And then you go into where you're in a more serious relationship. And I take this with brands, because brands, I believe, are very similar. Because people love brands, but how do they love those brands? And whether it's a brand like an insurance brand like Discovery or Rocomamas, or whether it's Diesel Jeans, it's the journey of the life cycle of the brand and the relationship between human beings and the brand. And it's very similar. So what is love at first sight? Love at first sight is what's in a name. It's like, would you buy petrol jeans or diesel jeans? And how did we get that love at first sight with that brand? And how did the infatuation with the brand promise and the truth in the trust that you got in the brand go into a long-term relationship? Because it is important. It's all relationships.
Well, electric jeans, would you buy those? Probably not.
Nah, true religion, eh?
But it is interesting, right? Like this whole concept of trust, because we were talking before we went on air just how massive the Rocomamas brand and franchise has become. You're in a dozen countries, literally all over the world now. How old's Rocomamas?
5 years.
That's fucking ridiculous. You would think in the ecosystem of fast food, essentially, you've got very old established monolithic kind of brands, McDonald's, Burger King, etc. Yet there was always, funnily enough, you've managed to carve a space in burgers. Do you know what I mean? And so trust is an interesting angle to tackle that, because you had to trust yourself in the whole concept of the Rocomamas product itself, the burger itself, which by its nature is imperfect. Right, so it's feel free to jump in here, but it's the smash burger, and when you look comparatively at Burger King and McDonald's, these are like machine pressed mincemeat. They're perfectly round, and then when you put
plastic,
yeah, and they're legitimately hand on heart, like your product wins hands down. But it's like if you have a table of 6 people at a Rocomamas restaurant, wherever that might be, each and every one of those burgers will look different. The patty itself. Do you know what I mean? I'm not talking about, okay, you're going to have guacamole with this and maybe some fried
no,
and that
what
shit.
you're saying.
Do you know what I mean? So that you had to trust that was going to kind of work, I guess.
Well, yeah, and that was a journey in itself as well, because I'm, in a way, a perfectionist and would drive myself mad when I was younger, where it was almost like an obsessive compulsive disorder. So you want that burger to look the same all the time. And how did I deal with it? I had to deal with it to find the beauty in the imperfection. So you start looking and you delve into different concepts of what is beauty and what is our obsession with trying to sell something that's perfect. And we were chatting about it earlier on, but with regards to photo retouching, because I used to do art and airbrushing, and for the limited time that I was in formal employment in an ad agency before I got fired, I had to do this type of shit, and it was fake. How do you take a woman and make her thinner? For who? What is that perfection that you're hunting for? And if you look at everything, and I often look at when we used to get magazines, but like FHM, and I used to look how bad they used to do to try get rid of the cellulite or whatever it may be, and it was like totally like a fake airbrush picture, and that is the perfection that whoever they are, we think, the marketeers, the advertisers, I don't know. I often say good advertising make bad products succeed. But I used to hunt that perfection, and it used to irritate me. So I had to learn to say, well, there is actually beauty in imperfection. And that saying resonates with people, because I think we are, as human beings, hard on ourselves, man. But we're fucking awesome, man. We're so hard on ourselves. Human beings are animals. This is what we are, but we've got some form of a conscience to each other and maybe to the world, and as much as we think we don't, we do. I'll give you an example with Rocomamas, and it wasn't by design or by me being some Greenpeace activist or something, but I always say do what's right. And from day one, we've had environmentally friendly packaging. So Rocomamas does about, depending where in the country, but 50% of our turnover is takeouts. We've had environmentally friendly packaging, so biodegradable bags, biodegradable takeout boxes. It's most probably 2 to 3 times more expensive than the other crap that people use for takeout packaging, if not more. And for the last 8 to 10 months, we've had paper straws. We don't advertise that stuff because I say that this is it is what it is. It's supposed to be this, and this is I've learned to live my life with not needing to be on a world stage, not needing to be somebody I'm not, and it comes down to the point of where I stop trying to make sure that everything's perfect. I love excellence. I think you've got to strive for excellence, and you've got to try to be better than what you were before, the day before. But that beauty and imperfection just resonated with me, and that's what Rocomamas started becoming. So, for instance, in the beginning, you start looking at it and you say, I need to take photos of these burgers so people can see what we're selling and put them on those screens. And then you start thinking, well, we need to get glycerine, we need to get the best ripe tomatoes, we get whatever. I said, no, but that's a lie. That's a lie. So I need to put a photo together of the burger that you, Matt, are going to consume in that table on that day. And to this day, we do all our photo shoots inside of Rocomamas. People see it happening. It's got lights like these all over the place, and we take up about 4 tables, and we make it in the kitchen, and we send it, and we don't use any fake stuff to make it look what it should be. I mean, somebody was telling me not too long ago that ice cream is never ice cream. It's actually mashed potatoes when they photograph it. So I've photographed ice cream with my waffles, and then the guy said, yeah, but it's melting. So it's melting. It's melting. Take a picture, And I love that sort of thing, and I've really enjoyed that part of the journey for me is, have you ever thought about how difficult obsessive compulsive disorder must be for a human being? And like, I wash my hands a lot and things, but I don't have that disorder. But I used to be like that with perfection, and I thought, like, I'm free now, and yet it resonates with people, and the product's good, and I think that that's what's important.
Yeah, well, I agree with you entirely, dude. I think the world became fucking totally on this perfection train, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, well, if you're not perfect, then you're not good enough, and then all the friggin' diets, like the low-calorie aerobic diet, exercise bullshit, Jane Fonda, and then it was kind of like, and that permeated culture, and then it got amplified.
Intolerance.
Yeah. And it got amplified through culture, through broadcast media. And so you wind up with this societal condition that prescribed that you have to be fucking perfect. And then I think more broadly that started to express itself through brands and the products that they create. So fashion, magazines, McDonald's, burgers, and so forth. And then here you came with your totally imperfect, product and narrative. And so I think that's what really created a unique, to your point, brand, and what do you say, infatuation, with Rocomamas.
But also trust, though.
Well, that's it, because because
it's
the
honest.
thing is, dude, I think that people just started crying out for authenticity. You got fake news, you got Photoshop photographs and all this crap, and you almost were like preemptive of that trend, because 5 years ago that wasn't a thing. Fake news now is a very big fucking thing, especially with the US midterms and stuff. It's like the fake news.
Don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And so, your product was kind of a cultural thing that people started to assign meaning to, because it wasn't perfect. It was inauthentic, authentic.
On that point, I mean, to give an example, but also it's about being at the right place at the right time, I suppose. But Instagram, when I started, it wasn't that big, but I used it in a different way, and I still do. And that was for people to take photos of the imperfect product and regram it, and that's what we still do. And we push the odd little funny thing on it and that, but my whole theory was this, is take the photo and let me share you, because that's word of mouth. And that's what we did. And we're the biggest food brand on Instagram in the country. It's totally grown organically. We've never bought followers. We've got about 120 people we follow, which are mainly influencers and the like. And I think we were sitting on about 55 or 57,000 followers on Instagram. But how awesome is it that human beings take photos of fast food that is imperfect, and we manage to have it looking good, and it goes out into the social environment, and that's total honesty and truth, you know. And I look at the other brands on Instagram; they can't get it right. They cannot. They're still doing a scripted journey in their Instagram accounts, and it is something in our industry. I'm talking. It is something that allows for, I think, that the customer, the consumer, us as consumers, the way we are starting to control our own lives. There's something beautiful in that. And I think that all these things relate back to that beauty of imperfection, is when you're that honest and you're that saying, well, I'm naked. Yeah, check it out. And that's how we grew. You know, that's how people resonated with it. And I think it's going to carry on. I think that the fake news, I'm glad that it's come out like this, because now people are a little bit more conscious of, hey, what are you selling me? What are you telling me? What are you...
Yeah. The other thing to say is that, you know, this whole beauty and imperfection thing isn't just something that was born in 2018. It was actually, you know, Persian carpets, right? So this is a thing that you actually told me when we first met. I don't know when that was, a couple of years ago. But like Persian carpets, you know, I mean, how much are Persian carpets? Like, what are they? Just Mav, can you just Google and find out how much Persian carpets range from? I just know that they're bloody expensive. There's that shop in Rosebank where they hang these beautiful Persian carpets up in the window, and it always fascinates me about how they make any money, because I'm not culturally embedded in that. But yet in Persian carpets, I mean, you can jump in here, but it's like they deliberately... And if you think about all the stitches, the handmade stitches that go into these massive, beautifully, highly expensive premium rugs, they deliberately make a very small portion of that rug imperfect. Can you explain that?
So one thing that I like is I like doing research with regards to concepts. And I think that I read this in a Malcolm Gladwell book many years ago about the Persian carpets. But you see, I can't 100% say I read it there, because once I get a concept, then I go and I research and I say, this interests me, and then I get a whole lot of other data, and I don't actually know where that data comes from, but hopefully it's not fake news. But Persian carpets, and this resonated with me. What the whole theory is that Persian carpets have been made for, I think, a couple of thousand years. They've been weaving these things, but the cultural belief was that there's only God that is perfect, hence man must never make something that's perfect. So they intentionally leave out stitching to make it not perfect. But most of the time it's not actually noticeable to the average person when they just visually look at it. So there was a test done, something along the lines of where they had mass-produced carpets, produced carpets of the same pattern as a Persian carpet, so a copy of it, and let the average human being walk in and seeing who identified with what. And something like 95% of human beings went to the actual Persian carpet, and they said that's the true thing. But you couldn't see the imperfection. And I like that. Do we identify with imperfection because we are imperfect? You know, and there's something there. It's like another thing that was in the Malcolm Gladwell book is there was some statue that they found in, I think, in Greece. Anyway, some particular area, and the Metropolitan Museum bought this thing. I think it was a Metropolitan Museum. And before they launched it to the general public, they got all excited that this is the best, I think it was a Kura statue or something, that the best preserved one of all time. We've done the carbon dating, we've checked it and everything like that. They're going to introduce it to the who's who in the museum, and the experts. So they opened up this thing, and people looked at this thing and they said, I don't know. just doesn't feel right. They kept saying that this thing doesn't feel like it's authentic. And they paid millions of dollars for the statue. And they carbon dated it, and I think it's made out of marble, or the stone was from that particular region where all the other artifacts of the light came from. And then they found out after redoing a lot more studies in that the thing was probably a fake. So people felt that something wasn't right. It was just off. And we've all had that intuition. How do we... another thing I think that we're moving on as human beings is we're becoming way more in tune with our intuition.
Mindfulness, dude, is the massive thing right now. It was never at scale the way that it is now. It was always there, but it was like, yoga retreats and stuff. Now there's apps and Calm and Headspace and, brand sustainability. You're talking about your packaging and stuff. Tom's shoes, for every pair of shoes you buy from us, we'll give one to a child in need. Like, this whole mindfulness thing is just fucking exploding right now.
And I think it's evolutionary. See, I don't think it's a construct, by design even. I think some people like to do it. So I'll give you an example. If it's me selling a pair of shoes and saying I'm giving it to somebody else, I actually don't think that is authentic. It's me selling a pair of shoes and giving it without everybody knowing. And I think that that's what's important. I think that we actually are starting to, as human beings, value our intuition, and that's why we are doing our decisions, making our decisions, purchase decisions, and whatever those decisions are. Because I don't think that, I think we've been sold a lot of bullshit. I really do. And I think that, could you trust any politician on any planet? Everybody's against Trump and then against Brexit. And now there's a new right-wing person in Brazil. And then you go back last century and a lot of the left-wingers caused a lot of disasters as well. So we sit there and we say, what is the truth? And why won't you let us vote from our smartphones, from anywhere? Because you want to control it. And I think as human beings, we're distrustful of that because we've been betrayed. And it's not just now. It goes back to Roman times. It goes back to all types of civilizations and lands around the world. So I think intuition is a big thing. And I think that there's an awakening. And I genuinely, and I don't mean to be all ethereal about it. It's just the way I feel. And I tend to see it. And then I watch my kids, 19 and almost 18-year-old, 17-and-a-half-year-old girls, and I look at the way they navigate life, and I look at the way they are willing to put themselves out there for the truth and for what they believe in. And it's not la-di-da like they did in the 1960s, thinking they can save everybody with peace in that. It's tangible and it's intuitive and it's not judgmental. So they don't judge each other for their different opinions and different ideals that they want out of this world, which is awesome. When I was growing up, albeit that we were sitting in apartheid South Africa, but even after that, when I dodged the army and I went to Los Angeles, we were part of a group, and we didn't value the individual. And I think there's change happening now. So I think that part of the group, and this is why there's a problem. Let's take the American politics, and I know we have to talk about business and that, but it's so divided because it is identity politics. But the reality is, I believe that as human beings, we're starting to value individual thought and individual personality, I think that there's something special about that, and that's what intuition will do. It will give you the confidence to actually raise your hand and say, well, I don't believe that's right. And everybody says, but the rest of society believe it is right. And you say, well, maybe there's a different way of doing it,
Yeah, it's interesting. I suppose this individualism thing has given rise to influences, right? So people relating to influences rather than, or associating or valuing people above brands, because brands, to your point, have bullshitted also a lot of fucking people for a very long time. Is exactly what you said, right? Well, you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. Like, you can advertise a crap product, but it's still a crap product. It'll never scale, obviously, but you'll get people to do things to give you their money, even if that product isn't what it says. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's been that way for since the beginning of consumerism. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this whole thing around, I totally agree with you, individualism and so forth is actually something that I feel consumers are expressing through your food. Do you know what I mean? And dude, like even your menu, sorry, bro, like just, sorry, what was the amount of Persian carpets again? Sorry.
The average carpet is $1,000. That's 13K in our rent.
That's not too bad. So yeah.
But you can buy cheap $500.
Yeah, exactly. The average
$200.
So,
but I just on that, I want to ask you, all these Persian carpet shops around Johannesburg, they're always on sale. Have you noticed that? They've always got a closing down sale or a sale of some sort. So how many people are buying carpets and closing down?
Dude, it's money laundering. That's what I think.
No, I also look at it strange stuff.
But it's interesting, right? So going back to your thing, I think we're talking like your first little shop was opposite of McDonald's. Do you know what I mean? And you were telling me the story about how it obviously takes a bit longer than a McDonald's burger, right? Which will take like a few minutes to make. Yours takes how long on average?
Well, you know what? I'm busy with a little concept now where I can get burger in hand without pre-cooking in under 5 minutes. That's what I'm busy with.
Really?
But yeah, that's something I'm actually going to open a little store.
You should
in
bend that
Braamfontein.
idea and just stick to your roots, dude.
Huh?
Then you're going to feel like everybody else. I mean, think about it.
No, but it's still done in front of you, cooked fresh.
Oh, is it?
But
Okay.
anyway, because there is the need for sustenance in a certain amount of time in this fast-paced world, and you got to understand that. But at that particular time, so let me tell you, first and foremost, I opened it next to a McDonald's as a bit of a protest. And I initially, I remember whilst we were building it, I had a group of us standing outside, and I said, let's do a moon. Let's moon McDonald's, and I took somebody to take a photo. But thank God, if we did it, if I can recall us doing it.
Is that on the internet somewhere?
Yeah, that's what worries me now, because somebody was like, the guys from McDonald's were mooning. But it was kind of a protest because, not that I hate McDonald's, I actually think McDonald's is most probably the ultimate restaurant company on earth. I mean, they've just got it franchise on earth. I mean, they've just got it perfect. I just think that it's evolved into what it is,
It's a property company.
Well, it's a property company. I think it's a great business model if you think about it, and it's a brand. It's a brand that people go to for convenience and that. But when I was very busy, and when it's busy, it can take up to 15 minutes for a burger. And obviously we're doing 50% of a takeaway, and I've got a queue running and people waiting for tables. And then the guy says, so I tell my cashiers, listen, we're running on 25 minutes now. This is in the early days. Just tell every person buying a takeaway that it's going to take 25 minutes. Well, this guy pays for his meal. He comes to me and says, I disagree with this fact of 25 minutes for a burger. I could go to McDonald's. I said, so go. I'll give you your money back. I said, they got it on a shelf, ready. Yeah, they're making it for you. Can you see there's other people as well? Yeah. So you go, oh, wait. He says, no, I don't want McDonald's. Something along that. He said, I don't. I prefer your burgers. I said, well, you must wait. But the reality is and then we get into another level of now where you think about supply and demand. Eventually, the demand would have waned because it takes too long. And that's why you open another branch. And that's why you grow in that way. Because if you've only got, and this is where I get into this need to provide sustenance in a certain amount of time, which McDonald's are kings at, but obviously it's pre-cooking and it's ready for you when you get there, which is what most places do. Cooking from scratch and using ingredients of integrity like olive oil and real butter and the like what we do is not easy because it's expensive. So you've got to worry about how do you make it affordable. Then you've got the time scale on how do you deliver the product without pre-cooking. And I think that if you put yourself in a scenario where you're sitting in an office close to the first Rocomamas and the place is queuing every lunchtime and you've got a lunch break of an hour. you ain't going to go to the Rocomamas. You're eventually going to say, it's too busy, let's go to the competitor, whether it be Nando's or McDonald's or whatever it is. And I thank God I realized that it would not be queuing today like it was queuing 5 years ago. Because people are eventually saying, takes too long. Great product, takes too long. I wait in a queue for too long and that. Once you open other branches, you take away from the first branch. And I got it to the point where I took away so much that I lost almost 50% of the turnover of the first branch. But eventually, I created supply and demand followed, and it started growing again. And it's amazing. So you start looking at franchising and cannibalizing. So you cannibalize on yourself. And I think Steve Jobs said it with Apple, which is when analysts ask them, well, now that you're making a phone and it's got an iPod in it, and are you not cannibalizing? He says, well, if we don't cannibalize on ourselves, somebody else will. So that was my thought pattern. So I must do this, but I need to do it responsibly. And that is how you do it, I think, responsibly. We've cocked up 1 or 2 areas. We've already decimated one franchise for another one, but then we give them support and we try to grow it. But that's the reality of it. You know, not everybody's going to wait 25 minutes, 30 minutes for a burger. So we've improved our efficiencies a lot, and it's the average now is on a busy time, 15 minutes. When it's quieter time, it's under 10 minutes. But it's tough.
I still think though that people will wait if they really want that product, and because the thing at the end of the day, like you buy Rocomamas for more than just the burger. You buy it because of the feeling that it gives you, right? And if you go to a McDonald's, you go to a Burger King, you're going to feel shit. And you're going to say to yourself, that was a very stupid fucking decision. I should have just been patient and had the Rocomamas. I'm not saying in all cases.
But that does happen.
No, of course it happens.
Because of time.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, and we live busy times. So I sit there. I've got 2 Rocomamas that are next to McDonald's, by the way. And once again, I must say, I love McDonald's concept. I mean, I'm not one to go eat there, but I used to when I was younger, I suppose. But I think that I looked at something happened to me, and I looked at a Rolls Royce pulling into the McDonald's there in Rivonia. So I thought, okay, they're going through the drive-through. Because you kind of think, well, that's not the profile customer. You know, it's like you get a bit shocked. I mean, I don't expect Bentley Rolls Royce customers to be coming to Rocomamas either. You know, it's like, and I think that I think that it's about convenience. If somebody that can afford to go to a high-end place still goes to a McDonald's, there's a need for sustenance. So then I started looking at other things, and what I looked at was the type of car parked in the McDonald's parking lot, because the drive-through is easy to say, well, that's convenience. The guy doesn't want to get out of his car, so he'll drive in with a 7 Series BMW or whatnot. But what about the guys standing there and they've actually gone in to consume the product inside? And I picked up and I'd sit at the Randburg branch and I'd sit at the Rivonia branch and I'd count the cars, and I was shocked how many C-Class Mercs, GTRs, and they're in there. And then I started questioning individuals that I know, associates and mates and that. Do you ever go to McDonald's? And you'll be shocked. Like even
all
mates.
of them do.
They all do. And then what they say to you is, but I still come to Rocomamas. And I said, no, be honest with me. Why? He says, well, you know what? I actually went to the one next to your Rocomamas the other day. But why? Why? Because you know what? Meeting after meeting after meeting, I had 10 minutes left, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, John. I just thought you are more of a planned option than McDonald's. It is there. It's like walking through, it's ready. So I've done something now where we have re-engineered something. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow for the customization like a proper Rocomamas, but I also don't want to cannibalize on the proper one. So it's a Rocco Go. It's like an express version, but it's sexier. It's I can't explain it to you. Like I want to have beer on tap, but it's all in takeout containers and it's self-service and it's a vibe. Everything's made from scratch. But there I can deliver any product into hand, whether it's wings. So I've taken ribs off. I can't do ribs. Ribs take too long to cook. But wings and burger in under 5 minutes. And that, I think that there is, and that part of that, for me, is why do I do what I want? Why do I do what I do? And why did I start Rocomamas? I actually started Rocomamas because I am tired of the diets that people hanker for, and I'm tired of the crap that my kids were being brought up with, because I grew up in an era where we still ate fast foods and we didn't have a problem with weight and sugar diabetes and things like that. There's another problem. I believe that by blaming one set lifestyle or one set type of food choices, like studying ants while there's elephants running amok. And data must give us that. Why can't data give us that? There's a point in time where something happened, and I personally think that the problem that we have with obesity, and that's snacking and TV. I can't. We've had fast food since the 1940s, if you think about it. The obesity problem that they have worldwide has actually been coming through from the 70s. That's when it started growing. So what, you're blaming fast food? That's not what. But maybe it is something in the fast food, and that's where I got into. I'm passionate about making good food, but for the consumer that consumes fast food. And it's not that easy. It's not, as I said, cooking fast food with olive oils and,
3 different kinds of mincemeat.
Yeah, different blends. I mean, now suddenly you're sitting in the situation where you're moving a load of mince. Mm-hmm. And now you say, well, I need X amount of chuck to be deboned because it's got such flavor, and X amount of brisket. And they look at you, these butchers, and thank God we grew organically. But the guys that we deal with. And, things like traceability to the farm, to the animal, all these things are important to me. We don't advertise it. Now look at about this is about how do you overpromise and underdeliver. In the early days when I started, we used to buy free-range grass-fed beef, which was I don't know if you remember, it was quite a buzzword at that time, 5 years ago.
What, free-range or the beef itself?
Grass-fed beef, free range, not
bison meat.
Well, not bison meat, but the reality is I never advertised it. I never told people, and thank God I didn't, because with the droughts we've had over the last 3 years, and we have to use animals that they've got assisted feeding. As long as they're free range and they're not in these big pens and things, the abuse of the animal I'm not into, but they are assisted grass feeding, and sometimes they're grain fed. I mean, imagine I put that promise out those years. No, these things are grass fed, free range, and you can't get at the moment. You can get slithers here and there, but the animals are starving, man.
Yeah, you'd have a PR nightmare, or just a massive business problem.
Yeah, change it to a vegan place.
Yeah, so dude, just to go back to like. Well, let's actually do this. Let's do quote of the day, because I think I want to talk more about your product. So why don't you walk us through this one? Because this is kind of where we're going.
Okay, so I think we've chatted about find the beauty in imperfection. Yeah. To put on that, I think that we can be very hard with ourselves and over-engineer everything, especially in business and that. So it's not what you put in, it's what you leave out as well. It's a space between. Genius in madness is, I feel that if you look historically at the great artists, scientists, mathematicians, musicians, and the like, the guys that we still know about today, and I'm talking over centuries, were mad. But were they mad? That madness, you've got to find genius in. And I think that our world has become so prescriptive that people are scared to allow that chaos in their lives to manifest, so they just follow this orderly path. And human beings cannot be restricted like that. And I think that that's what I mean by genius in madness. Like, find the genius in madness. Don't find the genius in a person that just, I've got 145 IQ. That's not genius.
But there's that saying, right? It's like at first they say that it's like crazy, then they say it's impossible. Then when it becomes truthful, it's like it becomes self-evident. It's like, oh well, that was always possible. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing with genius, right? And that's what you're saying, I suppose, if I was to paraphrase it. But genius and madness, it's like you with your imperfect burgers were crazy, right? People are like, fuck that. Why? I'm not waiting 25 minutes for a burger. I'm not eating a burger that like looks like this. Do you know what I mean? I'm not used to this. And then now they eat it, and now they want to sit fast. Do you know what I mean? Like, because that's their thing. They now realize that it's just self-evident. It's the best burger in the country. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is it. I think that is what the genius in madness is about. It's like handmade. It's like, handmade. You guys would know this, but I watched a thing about a guy who was passionate about Porsches, classic Porsches, and he started researching and he restored and with hammers and forged the aluminium and the metal, and he's become a sensation on social media. I don't know if you know about this. I just happened to watch it.
What's his name?
I don't know. But I just looked at that mastery. So mastery is something that's important. Mastery for me is genius in madness. So what is mastery? I've done many businesses in my life, and there's a couple that I can kind of pick up on where mastery exists still, and the one is brewing. So if you have to look at brewmasters in the Netherlands and Germany and these places, do you know that a brewmaster is not somebody that gets employed via an employment agency? A brewmaster is somebody who generally it's taught from father to son. And they've got guys that can be 12 years old in a massive brewery, let's say a Heineken type brewery, where this mastery gets installed in this youngster that tastes, and now that would be illegal, yeah. That's once again, so you got an orderly social construct that it's wrong. You can't employ a 12-year-old child, but mastery has, in many instances, been developed that way. So, for instance, coffee is another one. Italian shoes, there's mastery in that, and it gets into the intrinsic details of the product and the manufacturing of the product, which I think that they don't get that intrinsically into it without having some form of meaning and purpose. And that is genius, because that is madness. How do you look at an Italian shoemaker? You've been to Italy.
I have. I bought several Italian jackets. I don't own them anymore, but yeah.
So now if you bought an Italian jacket, and then you've bought a mass-produced jacket from some other country in the world where it's 10 to 1, slave labor, child labor, massive thing. But have you felt the integrity of the difference, the stitching, the thickness, you feel it. But it's also, the mastery is taking that piece of leather and knowing that certain parts are thicker and they've got different shades within the color of the leather. And then they look at it and they say, well, over there, and they draw out shoe one left. And they say, but what would match with that? Up here, this piece of leather will be the right of one. And yet they still efficiently use the whole piece of leather. And a computer will take a piece of leather and they'll print left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. There's mastery in products that are awesome. It's absolutely beautiful. And that is madness. It is madness to have that sort of mastery. Yeah? I mean, it's like, and sometimes I feel that we're losing that. I think that there's some individuals like that guy with the Porsche. I wish I'd known his name. That's very into getting back into making things like they used to be made. But I do think that it is something that we need to try and instill in human beings, that mastery is a very, very, very important part of not just what we do, but finding purpose in what we do and why we do it. Huh?
So let's go on to truth and anger. Just by the way, do you think the 10,000 hour thing by Malcolm Gladwell is an actual thing? So it's like, if you do 10,000 hours of podcasting, you will become a master. Or if you do 10,000 hours of painting or making flipping burgers, do you know what I mean? Do you feel like that's,
yes, I do.
That's one way to get to mastery? Like,
I don't know if it's mastery. I think it's one way to I think that there's circumstances as well that allows that. So if you look at the Beatles, in that 10,000 hour rule, the Beatles, which if you look at, if you play music and you wonder why they're called the best songwriters of all time, because if you really listen to the chord progressions and the melodies that they actually get out throughout the entire career, you hear so many different influences of different styles of music. And then you look at that 10,000 hour rule, they were effectively forced to play in what would be termed strip clubs, where all these club owners would say to them, well, we want country and western, this set, then you can play rock and roll, then you can play jazz, then you can play rhythm and blues, and force them to do this. And they did it for so many years that the 10,000 hour must work because of the way that their structures of their songs are. They're not, you can't take a mind that's into music that grows from the age of 16 or 15 or 12 into music and likes rock music. That person cannot write a song that is maybe country, because country is close to rock in certain chord progressions, but that is jazz. They can't. They either have to have all these genres of music that they continuously listen to. So the 10,000 hours, I think, in that sort of way does prove it, because there is no other band that has that level of such a diverse type of songwriting skills. So I do believe in it. I believe that. And I think that's important. I think that in today's day and age, people want instant gratification. They want instant success. It doesn't happen.
Well, that's what you said right in the beginning, right? So that entitlement thing. You know, because that's, by the way, like just from my experience, like youngsters feel like they're just entitled to everything. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know why this is necessarily, but it's like, you know, you're not, it's like, it's the attitude, not the skills that I'm talking about. It's like they come to work and employment with, like, I just speak to, like, you know, university graduates and stuff like that, because obviously people is a big part of this business, and it's just like you just get hit with this entitlement mindset. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'll say something like, well, it's not a 9-to-5 job. You know, or you're not going to just do that one thing.
But in talking about that, I mean, there is something that is, I mean, it's a worldwide phenomenon about the youth. When I mean the youth, the millennial youth, let's say the 20 to 30-year-olds, and they're leaning towards socialism. You know, socialism is something that obviously, because I'm a capitalist. I mean, and I don't come from money. It's not like I'm protecting money that I came from, that I was, that I got in a will or something. It's like, I love the concept of capitalism. It's free market, you know, thrive or die. I mean, like the weak must die in business, and somebody better will come along and provide you a better quality service, and you progress. I mean, capitalism has taken more people out of poverty than any other form of social construct. And I mean, it's not even a construct. It's just, you know, as soon as government gets involved, they screw it up. But there is this idealistic understanding of socialism that these youngsters have, and part of that is entitlement, and I think part of it's laziness. You know, so where do you? And it's a worldwide thing. But now I want to ask you something. How much of this is lecturers?
You mean like the lecturers themselves?
Yeah, I think
so
that
what's peddling that crap, or why
I think
would
that
they
the
do
social
that?
sciences, especially within, and the arts, tend to, these lecturers have got, you know, it's like that teacher thing that I spoke about early on. So when I was at school, you have this maniac that gives you, metes out corporal punishment because he's frustrated he can't get through to you. And what is he supposed to be doing? He's supposed to be mentoring you and guiding you and inspiring you to achieve what you want to do. So it's counterproductive, corporal punishment, of what they do. With the lecturers, are they not pushing these types of agendas? And I tell you why I put this down, and I asked this question. So many years ago, we had vocational passions to do things, and I think one of the few careers that people still have some form of vocation for is, and I've got a lot of respect for them, are paramedics. They don't earn a lot of money. They work 12-hour shifts, but they're passionate about saving people. But if you go further up in any form of past vocation, like whether it's medical, doctors don't just want to be GPs anymore. They want to specialize, and it's become, everything's monetary, and the same thing happens with teachers, for instance. So do lecturers, are they actually doing what they're meant to be doing, which is mentoring and inspiring kids, or are they sitting there and they've got a gripe because the people they went to university with are today much better and much more respected and well off than they are because they're specializing in something? And if that is why they are now using their I don't know what to call it, or they feel like they haven't achieved something in their lives, are they pushing the socialist agenda with these kids? Who's selling them this idea?
Dude, I think it's much bigger than that. I think it's the system of the world that we live in, because I think like social media and the headlines that you advertisings have played a big fucking role in that. That's what I believe. Like just even I love Entrepreneur magazine or whatever, but if you look at the front page, like you were on the front page of the friggin' magazine, right? So, and it's like from 0 to 500 million in 4 years, or whatever the case is. Do you know what I mean? And then you read the headline.
Yeah, you're right.
And it creates the perception that entitlement is actually something that is okay.
Yeah, they don't understand the toil and the difficulty to achieve
that's why I do
instant.
this show, dude, is to basically talk about this shit, because it's not
don't
really
know.
spoken about in the business context. You're like a big brand, in South Africa. Everybody knows you. And so like you're talking about this thing of entitlement as being a very real thing. And if the kids out there today, like the aspiring young entrepreneurs, are going to pull this fucking thing off, they can't get romanticized by the headline.
Well, it could also be another thing. So one thing could be the universities, and I just happened to bring that up because you mentioned people come from universities and they expect certain things that just aren't, whether it's instant gratification or the corner office. I don't know, but I just use that as one example. But I think another thing is maybe social media, and I think even stuff which frustrates me is, why do these algorithms get to know us so well, and then it makes us not inquisitive? So all these things can play a part of it. You're right, it's much bigger than what I'm just saying, but I don't know. I think that I still have. I think, is it the generation that was born into search, not the generation that was born into social media?
Well, it's the digital natives, right? So, like, my son will only ever know the internet. Like, you and I, we still, we're trying to work out what the fuck this thing's good for. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. In many instances. But
we still trust it.
But we still trust. Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? Like, my son probably won't have a bank account, and that'll just be the world that he'll live in, because he'll bank on blockchain and use crypto. Do you know what I mean? Like, because the way that the world's it's moving off this linear trajectory onto this exponential one. We all know this. So like, so when you're a digital native and you're looking at this whole world, suddenly things become easier than they were before, right? So like you've mentioned intuition. We have an intuition that dictates to us, or that tells us that it is actually easier than ever before to become an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are the rock stars. Like you mentioned the Beatles, fine, there's a place for that. But Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, they are the rock stars of the world today because it's easier than ever before. Brian Chesky, Airbnb, do you know what I mean? Like Sergey Brin, Google. Like these are the biggest, like you mentioned, like the move towards individualism. This is what consumerism is starting to resonate with. And so when you look at the fact that it is easier to start a business than ever before, it's like Airbnb. There was this fucking startup called Bird in Los Angeles. They literally, you woke up one morning on your morning run and suddenly you would see scooters, like hundreds and like thousands of scooters all around LA on the beachfront. And they were just left there. And people were like, what the fuck is this? And then you downloaded the Bird app, and basically it's like Uber for scooters. They went from, within 3 years, they were a $5 billion company. It was literally started by a former executive of Uber. And it was all about transitioning you for, let's just say, like a bus stop stops here and another one stops there. It's the space in between. And you literally get on, you rent it per mile, and you get charged a fee per mile, and then you just leave it. And it caused such a stink. It caused such a stink with the LA society, because like it was litter. Do you know what I mean? You feel like, how do you leave shit lying around in the sidewalks? They didn't ask for permission, nothing, caused the whole big stink. But the headline there is, XYZ startup gets funded. I mean, I've spoken about this at like nauseum. It's like you have these companies that are founded. It's the Silicon Valley narrative. And it's like you start a business and 6 months later, guess what? You'll sell that business for like, $250 million, and you'll move to the south of France, and you'll be doing Bolivian cocaine with a bunch of Russian supermodels. And fucking congratulations to you. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing, because it's not like, yes, of course, there are examples of that, but for every one of those stories, there's like hundreds of thousands of crushed dreams. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's that narrative, and that's why I just say it's like it's firmly driven by the media. Like the media controls
I just want to tell you
shit.
something. It's like the Kardashians of business you're talking here.
No, but it's true.
It's yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I'm a bit, I must be honest with you, I'm a bit skeptical and maybe pessimistic with regards to a lot of these companies that a lot of them have yet to make a profit. And when I actually question why they're there, whether it's the Ubers of this world, how can you lose $1 billion in a year? Where are you going with it? No, we don't make a profit because we need the data mining. How much data do they want about us and where we're going and what we're doing? Can they not get enough from our phones? And what is Facebook without advertising? So I look at it and I say, what are they selling? And what I like the concept, and I love Uber, and I love the new economy. I love what these young people are providing us for what used to frustrate us in our generation. But I just also look at it and I say, well, that 0 to 0 game, what are they selling? What's tangible? Where's the mastery in it all? Will it evolve in something? I think so. But I believe that we could maybe in the future be sitting in a situation where somebody is going to bring up an app that's going to be very similar to Ray's Pizza in New York. So Ray's Pizza, the pizza slices in New York. Some guy started Ray's Pizza. He had the recipe. And he said, I want to do this is years ago. I mean, like 30, 40 years ago. Have you heard the story?
No, but go.
It's you seem like we don't have
No, go for it, dude.
So Ray's Pizza, somebody else wanted to open and said, can you franchise this thing? He says, no, we don't, but I'll give you the recipe. You have to buy the product, so we got good quality product, and you must call it Ray's Pizza, but it's your business. So there's these Ray's Pizzas everywhere, and you must always say that you're the original. That's what this guy said. Nobody knows who Ray was and how it evolved, and so there's all these Ray's Pizzas around. They sell pizza by the slice in New York, but it's not a franchise. That isn't monetized, but it's there. Everybody knows Ray's Pizza. Now imagine this for a concept with Uber. Somebody makes an app and says to all these Uber drivers, you know what? Screw paying Uber. Here's the app. This is totally community driven. Brian, the customer, is going to be happy that you're making all the money. Bam. What stops that? So yes, you're right. These youngsters look at this as entitlement because they see such a quick and easy way. But I'm saying that it's not actually that simple. There is a problem there, and how do you value that? I look at listed companies. I don't know how they get the values. I can't quantify them. How can you take something that I sell to you at, let's say, 3 years net profit or 4 years net profit, and we sell it to a listed company at 5 years net profit, but the listed company shareholders at 16 years net profit? That's a problem, I see. And they've been doing it for how many hundreds of years, but I just don't. I think there's a problem. That's going to be disrupted. It has to be. Can't.
By the way, have you had John's Pizza in New York?
I don't know. Maybe
John's Pizza, it was established 1929.
Yeah,
we were there last week.
Good.
Yeah.
But what is it?
But by the way, what was the other pizza shop? Can you remember?
Juliana's.
It's like, I don't know. It's in Soho there, and we went there, dude. It was the exact same base.
Amazing. Yeah.
But this is the thing. Different franchise. It's almost like they went, hey man, this is the recipe that's working since the 1920s, before around about the time of the Great Depression. And then they were recipe sharing, and then, but by the way, they both claim that they were the original.
Yeah, very similar to Ray's Pizza. Yeah,
exactly.
Look, you know what? I mean, New York water is legendary with regards for pizza. It's legendary. I mean, I've tried and everything. So baking is chemistry. It's not cooking. Yeah? It's a big difference. Cooking is an art. So a chef is an art in cooking. Baking is chemistry. And natural starters, temperatures, humidity, climate, it's hectic. New York's got something very special for pizza. And that's why it's so popular there.
Yeah, New York's just insane neat kef. Should we play a game? Let's do it. So the guys...
We haven't finished this.
Yeah, but while they're getting set up. So let's do... so the basic quote is find beauty and imperfection. Did that genius and madness. And then you go on your truth and anger. What was that about? And don't be evil.
So truth and anger is... I find that human beings get too offended too easily. And I think that... I'll give you an example. Are you a true friend if you say, hey, Brian, you're looking great today, when I've actually got sleep in my eye and I look like shit? Do you do me any...
Well,
I'm just using it as a simplified, dumbed-down way. People are too scared to say, you look like shit today, Matt. You know, you've got sleep in your eye.
Fine. But also people don't exactly want to be truthful. Do you know what I'm saying?
But what I'm saying is find the truth in anger. You know, like when somebody gets angry, I think it's worse saying don't get angry, and people brew inside, and that's why people lash out and start doing things like murder and that. Anger is within all of us. We all get pissed off. What must you suppress that? So I'm saying find the truth in anger, because I believe that people that can fly off the handle, like in our industry, Gordon Ramsay's made a what's the name out of it, a character, or he's become famous out of it. You can trust that person. There's truth in that. Somebody who wears a mask and no human being, we are animal. No human being is consistently all Buddha, la-di-da, chilled. It is impossible. It is not in our biological makeup. And that's what I talk about, find truth in anger. But then I also say don't be evil, which is a Google thing. Don't be evil, just like have empathy for people and guard people, and don't talk for people. Stop believing that you can control people. And this is very important. It's part of it. And it's part of the people that work with you, work in the businesses, and the people that are your customers.
Cool. I get you. Right. What game are we playing? Who's explaining this one?
Game.
This is a new game we're introducing, or they're introducing. I'm not even in control of my own show anymore.
How's Brian? Thanks for joining us today. We've got a cool little game for you guys. It's called the Lip Read Challenge. So basically what's going to happen is one of you are going to wear a set of headphones. We're going to play some music, and the other is going to say a phrase, and you have to guess what they're saying. So you guys have separate topics. So Matt, for you, it's going to be phrases that you use on a daily basis, specific to you.
Hang on, wait. And so I'm going to say the phrase, and he must guess what that phrase is?
Yes.
No, it can't make sense.
He's going to say the phrase. You have to guess what he's saying.
Oh, okay. You're going to say the phrase, Brian, and then I'm going to... Okay. Oh,
yes,
it's phrases that I say every day. Okay, cool. I get it.
And then for you, Brian, it's going to be options off of your menu that Matt will say to you. So you guys are going to switch, and then, we're going to have some fun.
Okay.
So who's first, and what are we doing?
So you'll go first.
So you'll go first.
I'm wearing my glasses.
Yeah. Can I get some music here, Pat? Otherwise I'm going to hear everything.
Yeah. And then also the rules are you have 3 attempts for each phrase. So if you don't get it right the first time, you can guess another 2 times.
Okay, let's do it.
How do I know that you can't hear me?
We tested it.
No,
we tested it, yeah.
I can't hear shit.
I want my podcast.
What?
I want my podcast.
No idea. Say it slowly, dude.
I want my podcast.
I got no fucking idea. Next one.
Next
Just hang on. What was
Can I
that
tell
one?
him what it is?
What is it? I won my podcast.
Is it done?
Oh, that's easy. Is it done?
Top.
It's my favorite word or phrase.
Mav.
Mav.
This is unfair because you guys know him. Where's the brand ad?
Where's the?
You can hear. The music's
What?
not on.
I can. Yeah, but I can't.
The
What's
music's
what you
not on,
say?
nah,
Okay,
he-
fucking turn the music up then if he wants. Jesus. So just you're supposed to give your trust, dude.
Betrayal. Where's the brand ad?
No idea.
You see? You see?
What is that?
Where's the brand ad?
Where's the powder?
That is a problem.
It's not Friday yet, is it?
Where's the brand ad?
Oh, where's the fucking brand ad?
The fucking wasn't in there, but I mean, it's because I double half day.
Hey?
Half day.
No, I
Drop
don't know.
mark. Half day.
I'm done. Half day. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, cool, Brian. Your turn. So, what are these now? Are
Cool.
These phrases?
So those are options off of the Rocomamas menu.
This is hilarious. Okay, the current menu here.
Current, yeah.
Okay. By the way, the thing about individualism on your menu, it's like you even name your burgers after people.
Yeah, I do all those names.
Do you? Okay, well then this will be a walk in the park for you.
Oh, I don't know some. On another story.
You fucking sneaked that one.
I don't know. On another story, I'll tell you at another time.
Okay, cool. Here we go. Okay, you ready? Okay, can't hear me. Okay, classic cheese burger.
Classic cheese.
Okay, fuck, well, that was way too easy. You need to pick. Okay, this one's hard. Jackfire G-Shake.
Freak shake.
Jackfire G-Shake. Jack. Fuck, what's wrong with this guy? Jack.
Shackster.
This is so easy. Jack. It's actually very hard. Jackfire. Listen, okay, here we go. Jackfire G-Shake. No? Okay. You get like overwhelmed. You're like, no. Okay, that's
Can I
what.
put other music on now?
This is terrible music.
Sabbath.
Put rock music on. That's his brand. Okay, cool. Here we go.
Yo, you see, you could hear me perfectly when I was
No, rubbish, man. Lies. Okay, here we go. Ready? Rockstar Burger.
Rockstar burger.
Yeah, there you go. Easy for him. Okay. Mac and cheese bomb. Mac and cheese bomb.
Cheese bomb. So, cheese bomb. Chili
Like,
cheese bomb.
No.
Feta cheese bomb.
No.
Jalapeno cheese bomb.
Is this an actual burger on his menu? Are you sure about this? Mac and cheese bomb. Mac, dude. Mac. Like Big Mac.
Mac and cheese bomb.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, give him a round of applause.
Who won?
Who actually won that? Was there a winner? Was it a tie? That was good.
No, that's also another problem we got in this world. That's also another problem we got in this world is the participation medal. Because people, like they just can't lose anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, tell me something. I want to talk about scale. So, I mean, you've now moved into 12 countries. You've got 70, 80 odd stores. Like, how have you approached scale? Because I think a lot of my audience, I mean, I've literally got the book coming out about scale. I did a whole series of events called Secrets of Scale. Unfortunately, you weren't part of that. But how have you approached scaling up? So, you know, you mentioned you were talking about supply and demand. You know, opening up a second store can, you know, potentially cannibalize another store. What have you learned about business and scaling up that you feel entrepreneurs who are trying to scale really ought to know and get their heads around?
Yeah. Matt, I think that scale, there's many. I've had many moments where I actually wanted to pull the plug over the last 5 years to keep it small and personal, and some of them are kind of because of the fact that not everybody looks after your brand like you would. Excuse me, and I think that franchising is quite a complicated relationship, because a franchisee is an individual that wants to be a small business owner, buys into a concept, but he doesn't realize that he's actually still got a boss, which is the franchisor. And I think, and even that relationship, instead of it just being prescriptive and using a baseball bat all the time to try get them to keep the standards up, you also need to try allow them to feel like individuals and to have an input into their business so they can feel like entrepreneurs, but not actually entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs is somebody who comes up with a concept and lives and sleeps and dreams and sweats that concept every day and grows it. Scale for us has been because of good franchisees. I think that the difficulty for me was to try and not make it a cookie cutter copy paste, which is genuine what a franchise is. A franchise is a person that goes to a franchise is genuinely a person that knows what they're going to get, so they're happy that they know what they're going to spend and they know what they're going to get. And that's a lot of human beings are like that. That's why Holiday Inns work, and that's why Rocomamas works and Starbucks works. They know what they're going to get. And I mean, it's some of us that are willing to try something uniquely different. How often do we get let down anyway? You go to some little artisanal coffee shop and the coffee is totally acidic and sour, and but we brew it and roast it and everything. Great, it still tastes like shit. And all the posers sit there on their computers and they all think it's Starbucks, and and whether Starbucks is good or not is not the point.
Do you want a coffee?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Chris,
do you want a coffee?
Oh, I'd love a coffee.
So
thanks, Chris.
So
this is gonna be a marathon show.
So scale is how do you have a business where scale is not just about increasing turnover, but it's also about remaining true to the why you started the business in the beginning. And that I had a challenge with. So scale for me was never a financial problem. I did a deal with a corporate quite early on. I mean, I think about a year and a half in. It's a corporate that I was involved in before because I was a franchisee. I trusted them. I had a lot of private equity guys throwing money at me before this. I had some of the other major companies also trying to chat me up to get involved. I trusted Spur, and I trusted the individuals who I still deal with on a day-to-day basis. But for me, that the infrastructure of that franchise corporation gave me the ability to almost plug and play. In the beginning, it was difficult because you also don't want it to become just another franchise like a Spur and a Panarottis and that, where it is quite prescriptive of the way that they operate them, or they used to. They've also benefited out of Rocomamas. I mean, I'll tell you something, in a Spur, for instance, we're starting to cook a lot of our own sauces and that again. Like we do everything from scratch in Rocomamas, we're starting to do that in Spurs. And it's awesome because you're taking recipes from 52 years ago and you're making them fresh, and you go, wow. Wow, it's not some big factory that was the same factory that makes Woolworths products supplying it to Spur. Now we're doing it. So, and what does that create? It creates a love for food again for the average person. But scale for me was easy that way. Landlord relationships, and then plus we had a successful brand. Cannibalization has been a bit of a problem because in certain areas, because you got somebody who's invested money in a business and it's doing well, and suddenly you open one that historically wouldn't have affected it, but in an economy that's not growing, you're slicing up the same cake, and so suddenly you shave off 20% of the guy's turnover. But we work with guys and eventually the turnover comes back and we're growing. But that for me has been the biggest problem with scale. The other problem is supply. It's very difficult to get supply in certain parts of the country, ironically. We think that we're in a country that's we're like a relatively large economy. It's not like we're a Mickey Mouse country. But I'll tell you something, some areas in South Africa, it's easier to get product into Zimbabwe than in some areas of South Africa, and I think that for me scale-wise is how do you get a good quality product everywhere. So we've got a distribution arm, but there's other things that we can't distribute, and I'll give you an example like ice cream. So we use a proper Italian full cream ice cream that gets made for us by Baglio's, top quality product. I cannot get it in the Cape.
What, like at all?
No, that product. And
Well,
we
why?
cannot ship it because ice cream has to be below, I think, 32 or 30 degrees centigrade continuously. So to try to find a supplier to do that's tough.
It's risky, yeah.
So I have to have another supplier there, and that's a problem. We had a lot of problems with meat supply in the Cape. Found it was very lean, not good quality. We had to work with that. We were shipping meat from here down there. It's just not. It's tough because it's not something you freeze. It's something that you don't want to freeze. So scalability on that is a problem. But I think that in the beginning, the first year that I moved into corporate and selling the franchises, we opened about 22 stores. That was a big spurt, and that was a manpower problem. But I had the resources of other fellow brands in the Spur Corp. And then it was the product side of things. But once we got that going, we're fine now. It's not like we're opening 22 a year now. No, I think last year we opened 15, and we've got the distribution in place, all the training sorted, and we had that from day one, the training, but we've really got it sorted now intrinsically.
But there must be a formula to scale, right? So like a model that you use to kind of go, okay, blueprint, and here we go. So it's Australia, Saudi Arabia, you're moving into... are you in UK
in
yet?
Saudi,
No. Okay.
Yeah,
and
we've
then
got 2 stores
in
in
America,
Saudi.
when's that happening?
America, we're busy doing a full-on case study, and we're getting all the regulatory side of it. We're looking at Texas. We've met a couple of times with the guys from Nando's, great company, very altruistic in their nature of assisting us with what's happened overseas and where they've failed and where they've succeeded. I think we must probably do more of a company owned venture there. I've got quite a few franchise inquiries from that side of the world, Canada and the States, ironically. But I think it'll be a 2-year journey. If we press play on it, it'll only be in about 2 years' time.
But there's a blueprint, right, that you work with? Yeah. So it's like every store design is different, for instance.
Well, the blueprint is you got a layout, so you got your flows and all that. It's the same everywhere. So beyond the counter, it's got to be the same.
Yeah.
Operationally, cleanliness-wise, your QCs, your equipment layout, because then you got your flow. Sometimes there's a change where you have to be creative in how you adapt it, and that's because of a site and what the site allows you to architecturally do to it. But yes, it was at one stage same light fitting, same chair, same table. It was had a full manual on exactly how to put these things together. In fact, a lot of the stuff that we shipped to us to the Middle East and that was containerized here and put together there. But that's also a problem for me because I grappled with that. So my last 15 odd stores, I've made each store unique. And ironically, here we go with regards to how what business means to different people. So when I switched this on and I did my first 3D rendering of the first unique Rocomamas compared to the last 30 that were all the same, the franchisee got more excited. It was their Rocomamas. And I just thought, wow, I'm onto something here. And I started that about 15 stores ago. So the last 15 stores have got unique appearances. So I'm trying to get it. It's on a pallet. There's a formula behind it. So you'll have like 7 different types of chairs you can choose, 7 different types of light fittings, different wall finishes. But the mosaic and that IP of Rocomamas still stays. So when somebody walks in, they look at it, and they recognize the mosaic and the counter, and they say, okay, it's a Rocomamas. But at least it gives a little bit of individuality in that,
Guys, we're doing Justice League, eh? Cool. So while they're getting set up, I mean, does franchise how is your kind of, I mean, why did you choose franchising as a model itself? I mean, in theory, like if you think about Roman's Pizza, John Nicolakakis was on the show like 2 weeks ago. I mean, they're also like 250 odd stores, 3 countries, and they don't have a franchise model as far as I understand. I mean, how have you seen, why did you choose that as part of your expansion strategy? Was it, and what have you learned in the process of doing it that way?
Look, I think that company-owned stores, we've got some company-owned stores. The problem with company-owned stores is that you sit in a situation where you've got to understand what. For me, it's about customer satisfaction. How does it? What are the KPIs and the metrics that you measure customer satisfaction at? And unfortunately, I feel company-owned stores, and I'm not saying we don't do it, we must probably carry on growing it, but I do feel that it doesn't quite have the essence of what a franchise-owned business has. You tend to, and even Nando's because Nando's is a 50-50 split, 50% company-owned locally. So in the UK, they own all their stores, but locally it's 50-50. The profitability is low on a company-owned store, but customer satisfaction is high on a franchise-owned store. And that's reality. And then if you go out there and you start tasting things and you say, who owns this? Oh, no, it's a company-owned store. Who owns this where it's good? Oh, no, it's that franchisee there. You may have 4 or 5 stores, but they tend to be, for me, there's a love in the business that's different. So I looked at a lot of studies with things like Chipotle overseas, which is mainly company-owned. So I think 99% of them, they've got about 1,900 stores. So they hit a brick wall because of making people sick. So you think about it and you say, well, a franchisee would have picked up that there's lack of QC checks in that. We still do it as a head office to come check on the franchisee, but now suddenly that this thing's company owned, somebody overlooked that and it knocked their shares by 30% and they haven't recovered. Some people died because of E. coli poisoning. There's a responsibility here. You're dealing with food. It's a very personal thing. And I just felt that franchising for me was the model. That's number one. Number two, it's not capital intensive when you grow that way. So would we have been made more money? So our investment in all these Rocomamas would have been about 250 odd million rand if we had to build them. And our net profit must probably be 15 million rand a month. Excuse me. So currently we only make 5%, and we must probably net on average 3.5 million. So we're not making as much, but we haven't outlaid that 250 million rand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so the franchise model works, I think.
Well, it is working. Yeah. Cool, let's do Injustice League, dude. So we'll set this one up. So we're going to ask you to smash this. What is this, Mav?
It is the cereal of people who betray your trust.
Okay, so it's a bag.
You do know that I've dealt with this a long time ago, but I like the gesture.
Yeah, so this is a bag of snakes, essentially. So
very relevant.
So we kind of touched on it right in the beginning, but like, what's the injustice that you see in the world?
But we did touch on it. We ventilated betrayal, but I think betrayal is a massive injustice. I look at it as injustice. I think it causes all this other crap that we deal with. I mean, it's just and we waste time trying to save everybody and all this because of some individuals that betray their people. They betray, whether it's whoever, whether it's pastors of churches that rape young girls. That's betrayal. It's so deep, and you think about what this one thing betrayal does to human beings is sad. It will lead us to war, man. It's hectic. So for me, that is an injustice.
It's ingrained in our human psyche, though.
Well, yeah, because we're animals.
It's just part of it, yeah.
We're animals.
It's never going to go away. But,
Well, that's fucking optimistic.
It won't. I'm sorry, dude. Greed.
No, I don't.
It's like you said, greed, trust, like these are all part of the human condition, right? It's like it's in our DNA to have these things. yes, now they're amplified, and thanks to like social media and stuff, we're more aware of it, like fake news, for instance. Like betrayal is equally just a part of that same narrative. It will become less through things like mindfulness, but it will never be eradicated.
No, I don't think it can ever be eradicated, because I think that you sit in it's fallen.
It's fallen over now. It's shitting itself with baseball bats.
But you know what? I genuinely believe that the more we are evolving as human beings, the more of us with some form of conscience actually start tackling things like this. You know, people have to serve their sentences. People have to be punished for what they do. We've become way too soft on human beings, and I think that is the difference. I believe that there is going to be a point in time where, like, I don't have a problem with them saying that they should chemically castrate rapists and child pedophiles. I'm not willing to go down the road that there's a mental imbalance there. And I think that human beings are starting to say that that's the reality. And that's where we start attacking betrayal. Not that it will go away ever, but it's the way we deal with it. How do we give justice to the victims? You know, that's a problem, man.
And on that bombshell, it's time to give the man a baseball bat. Can we get rid of that glass? Cool, dude. So, as you think about betrayal, feel free to move that chair. I'm going to get out the way here. This is for all the men and women out there being betrayed right now. I'm just going to do one of these. Just 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, boy. Snakes are dead. That was easily one of the best Injustice Leagues ever on the Map Round show. That was immense, dude. Thank you for that. How was that? Are you feeling better now?
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Betrayal.
I
Dead.
enjoyed that.
So, but I just want to start wrapping up and all that kind of thing, and just some kind of like quick fire stuff. Like, what has been your biggest failure over the last 5 years? And what were the kind of events that led up to this failure, and what did you learn from it?
Biggest.
Or just a failure, something guys can learn
I've had
from.
numerous failures. I think one of the biggest failures that I've had in the last 5 years, I'm going to give you a couple. Launching products like craft sodas, thinking that South Africans will be into them, didn't work. Cost money. Busy. I've launched a pizza brand that's not working. I don't have time for it. I haven't visualized it. I grapple with it. It's a failure, and I believe there's something there, but it's.
Do you want to give it a plug?
No, I don't, because I think it needs to be self-sustaining, and I think it needs to find its way. And I was actually chatting about it this morning. I said to my partners, you're throwing Facebook and Instagram and everything out. I said, I didn't build the business like this. I built it by getting to know the customer, and the customer came back. That's the first thing. It was I only switched on social media maybe 2-3 months into the journey. It's about getting a good name. Talk to your customers and letting them wow. I said, so if you haven't got the wow in the product, and a person doesn't think about that product at home, they're not going to come back. It's how do you get that? So it's a great product, by the way. It's called Smack Pizza Co, by the way.
Smack Pizza Co. There you go. Plug it away anyway.
So, but it's still in its infancy. We don't know where it's going to go. But for me, it's a failure. I also failed I've got 2 of those branches, and the one's in Pretoria, and I failed because I did an emotional decision about opening there, because I failed many years ago in Pretoria, and I needed to slay that dragon. Well, that dragon's still there, buddy. But it is what it is. I can laugh about it now. But yeah, I haven't had any massive failures with employing the wrong people or any of the like. I think that the last 5 years I've been so busy with the success of Rocomamas that my failures have really not been that big. They're not life-altering and life-changing. And I don't know if that is the course. As you get older, you have less of these massive failures because you start the balance of you actually losing everything with that failure is a lot less.
Well, I think you just get used to it. It's like when you're young and you fail, it's like, oh my God, like my 3-year-old is like, God forbid he can't get something right because he freaks the fuck out and he's like DEFCON 3 and it's meltdown, you know what I mean? And then I try and like, placate him and explain to him like, this is normal, but like it's hard to really become comfortable with that. And, first time founders, startup founders or whatever, like they don't really get failure, that it's inevitable. It's just something. It's like Elon Ray says, like if he hasn't failed in any given day, he hasn't had a good day. Do you know what I mean? It's just you become numb to it. It's like, I fucked that up. I didn't do that. I just said the wrong thing. Or should have done it this way. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, there's a lot of little failures. That happens like, every day to all of us.
But look, I've lost 6 businesses.
It's easy. Yeah. I think I'm.
It's like once you've lost the first one.
I call them my fabulous failures. I've always said, I think failure is great. It's fucking tough when it happens. When I was much younger, when I failed and I've got 2 young kids to feed. that's like it impacts on, it like can consume you with negativity and thoughts. You got to get up and say, geez, like it's another day. It's giving me, I used to say, it's giving me space to put something new in. But I could never dumb down the value of failure. I think failure is critical part of the equation to success. So yeah.
So if you could go back to yourself as like a youngster when you was getting caned at school and give yourself at that age, just stepped out of the headmaster's office or whatever, and give yourself one piece of advice about life, what would that be?
It's not rosy, it's not cozy, but it's a hell of a ride. That's what I say. Keep at it.
Like what motivates you to continue to scale up? So like, you said like you kind of reached a point where you had to make a call, like, do I keep this small and comfortable? And you then went, fuck that, I'm going to go global. And you spare your partners in that and Alan and company. And now you're continually scaling up. You're talking about America. You've got this really interesting innovation where it's the 5-minute start to finish, product, which could essentially be a game changer. Now you're playing in the convenience space. Now you suddenly are more than McDonald's from a frequency perspective. You know what I mean? Like whether you're planned or whether you're... Now it's a fucking whole other story. Now you have Mercedes-Benz drive. I imagine you can do a drive-through at some point. So, do you know what I mean? Like, what motivates you?
Looking at a drive-through, yeah.
You should totally do it. You can, there you go, $1 million coffee. Cheers.
I want to ask you something, Matt. Once you're on the journey, could you ever stop?
No. Like, we're opening an office in the States next year, funnily enough, Texas. We should time it. We'll be your agency there.
Austin, Texas.
Sorry, Mike Sharman. But yeah, dude, it's a thing. The thing is for me, it's like, and this is what Elon Ray said on Secrets of Scale. He said, it's like the guys who build really fuck off big businesses they're just curious. They're asking themselves not whether it's possible. They know that it's possible. They're just curious to know, well, how big can this thing get? And I thought that out of everything that was said around like why people build really big businesses or choose to, because you can like this would be digital kung fu would be great if it just stayed the same. We're profitable, everyone's happy, we have fun every day, we do great work for our clients, etc., and that's great. Do you know what I mean? But like for me, it's to your point, it's the train is on a certain, like it's gone, it's moved, it's left the station, so you just don't know where it's going to go. But as a founder, like I'm just very curious. Like, oh, what? And the other thing, by the way, just sorry to interrupt you there, it was like we landed a piece of business out in New York. And to see what we do here work there was just like such a huge thing.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Because you don't know. Like, you don't know. Like, when you opened...
Saudi Arabia, for instance. You talk about a different world,
And culture.
Yeah,
and
completely.
And like,
And also you look at yourself and you say, well, you know what, you got a different area for single men and for families, and what is the cultural, do I believe in this stuff, and is that important to my business growth and that? And you got to work through all those types of things. You got to respect people's different cultures and different viewpoints, but I don't know what it is. I think curiosity is definitely part of it, but I do think that it's when when you don't wake up on a Monday morning and you say, damn, it's fucking another week of opportunity. It's fucking awesome. Because you enjoy life so much with all the failures and all the successes and with meeting all the different people, then you must get out.
Yeah.
You know. So what is it? Is my goal to sit and retire on a small little island somewhere? No, John. I mean, I can't. I mean, I'm the type of person that's in that Randburg store at 6:30 in the morning, and I have my coffee and I do emails, and people come have meetings with me there. I can't have a meeting in the office. It drives me dilly. I get cabin fever. I just enjoy doing it.
Why do you do what you do?
I can't actually answer that honestly, because I've been doing it since school. You know, I do it for freedom. I'm free. Nobody tells me. I mean, even when I did the deal with the corporate, I said, like, you're going to pay me $1 billion. I ain't going to clock in and out. That shit, it doesn't fly with me. I'm not like that. I believe that the whole world should be, you paid for the outcome the outcomes that you achieve. And
For the value you create.
Yeah, but the outcome, what is the bottom line? What you're going to make this? I mustn't tell you we're going to be there for 9 to 5 to make this thing over a 6-month period and then deliver it to me. So what is the outcome? What do you deliver? So you can do it in 2 hours a day, sitting on a farm somewhere, but deliver it in 6 months. I need freedom. I love being free. I've been like this since school. I rebelled. I refused to go to the army. The military police came to arrest me because I didn't sign the forms. My mother had signed the forms. I eventually went off and worked on oil rigs that were doing gold exploration. Yeah, American-based company, to save up money, and I went overseas to dodge the army. I do not like being told what to do. Like, fuck it, I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm very respectful of my fellow man. I love my fellow man and human being. I meant human being.
Hashtag me too.
And
Hashtag
I'm the type of person, I pay my taxes to the cent. And I don't, because people are stealing our taxes and that want to dodge it. And I'm not like that. People are shocked that I'm like this. I'm totally honest. And I say, well, somebody may be starving out there. And if just my rands and cents, because I dodge that they're starving, that is such bad fucking energy, you know. So even though it's the highest tax rate, one of the highest tax rates in the world, I'm like that. I pay for it. And I say, well, thank God I can pay that amount of tax. I'm going to make more next year. You know, that's why I do it. Why I do what I do. But it's for freedom, my freedom. And to try to liberate other people's minds. I love that. I love seeing people progress.
Yeah, well, that's funny enough. I put this tweet out this morning just on this. Is like I said, I was thinking about it this morning. Like, you know, the reason why I am an entrepreneur and run a business is to basically positively impact the lives of these dudes and women here. So, I mean that, bro. Like, I mean, what did we do this week with Old Katlejo? We don't need to get into it. Do you know what I'm saying? Mav went to New York. He was in a brim cupboard about 3 months ago down in Durban. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, but I mean, it's just the opportunity is shared. Do you know what I'm saying? And like, it wouldn't be worth it otherwise. You know what I mean? For me, it's like, fuck the work. The work is a byproduct.
Let me tell you something. And I love seeing people grow. And I've had that. Like, for me, that's my emotional currency. What you're talking about is my emotion. I employ a lot of people in my own businesses. And I've got an individual, Andile, who's from the Eastern Cape. When I met him, he was homeless. Today, he's my 2RC out of all my business, and he's got shareholding in 3 of my businesses.
Yeah, but that's amazing, man.
I mean, his wife went to UJ. They got married now this year. They're going to have a child. The family planning. They bought a house in the south of Joburg from homeless CBD. I didn't do it. It was just the fact that the guy he was a tiger. I said, you're a tiger, bro. I said, you are. But that for me is joy. I love seeing people progress. And I love it. And I've got many of those, and some of them in our business, some of them aren't. And they've done way better than me in my retail businesses, and they used to work in my businesses. And they come back and they say, you know what, you inspired me. You told me how to change this in my life, how you did it, and I did the same thing and things have happened. I dig that. That for me is awesome.
Brian, let's wrap this up. Thanks, buddy, for being on the show.
Great, man. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Cool, guys. Thanks,